The chandeliers in the ballroom cast warm golden light as guests filtered in on the eve of the wedding. By the champagne tower, groomsmen exchanged low jokes with the groom Spencer. Clad in white satin, I paused outside the dressing room doorway where I'd meant to remind the photographer about equipment checks until a mocking chuckle froze me mid-step. Come on. How could Emily ever compare to Alice? Spencer's voice carried that trademark arrogance. Smooth as aged whiskey. She's just Mom's pick-obedient. Presentable. Socially compatible. Given actual choice? Alice every time. Another laugh. Then why marry Emily? Appearances must be maintained. Ice clinked in his glass. Mother adores her. Father approved. Besides, she'll never know. My grip tightened on the phone, displaying yesterday's missed call from Father. His furious warning echoed fresh. I'll say it once more, that man doesn't love you. He wants your father's influence to prop up his corporate standing. I'd dismissed it. Now his words rang true as cathedral bells. Without hesitation, I tapped redial and stepped onto the terrace. Rain-scented wind whipped the veil as connection clicked. Dad. I was naive to agree to this wedding. My voice held steady. You were right. He doesn't love me. Just told friends I'm his parents' puppet. Silence. Then his familiar baritone. Steel-edged. Your move. Through glass walls, I watched guests settle at linen-draped tables. Spencer raised champagne flutes with his entourage. Pull him from the company. That executive transfer proposal you drafted, sign it now. Done. Your team's ETA? 15 minutes. Perfect. I hung up, strode to the dressing room, and shimmied from ivory tulle into my reserved navy pantsuit. The updo stayed pristine as I ripped off the veil. Assistant Xiao Lu gaped at my transformation. Emily, you're not getting married? The ceremony proceeds. I smoothed lapels. Just without the groom. Have cameras ready, everyone will witness his downfall. 10 minutes later, I entered the ballroom to curious stares. Guests assumed I'd emerged early. Not that I'd claim the microphone with steady hands. Honored guests. Apologies for the interruption. Today was meant to be Spencer's wedding. Murmurs rippled through crystal clinks. I've learned he never valued this union. His heart belongs elsewhere. Champagne sloshed over Spencer's cuff as he lunged toward the stage. Emily. What nonsense. One question. My voice cracked whip-sharp. Did you tell friends I'm your mother's puppet? Blood drained from his face. You misunderstood. Enough. I turned to the crowd. This wedding is cancelled. Mr. Hamilton. A new voice boomed from the entrance. You're hereby relieved of CEO duties per board resolution. Carson entered flanked by security, triggering a flurry of phone cameras. Spencer wheeled on me, desperation cracking his facade. You can't, our families agreed. I produced documents from my clutch. My father's signed dismissal and interim CEO appointment. Corporate seal authenticated. As Carson displayed the papers, security closed ranks. Effective immediately. All executive privileges are revoked. You can't do this. Cooperate. Mr. Hamilton. Carson nodded to guards who seized Spencer's arms. I descended the platform, heels clicking past my sputtering ex-fiancé. His grab for my wrist met security's blockade. Outside, rain kissed my cheeks as the town car glided forward. Through tinted windows, I watched hotel lights dissolve into stormy haze. By morning, Hamilton Group's stock plummeted. Financial outlets scrambled to dissect the CEO's abrupt ousting while Father and I convened in the corporate boardroom. All Spencer's system access is frozen. Jamie reported. Financial approvals suspended. Offices sealed. I verified the protocols as Father observed from the head chair. He thought your support cemented his power. I knew he'd overreach eventually. Across the glass-walled skyline, sunlight glared off neighboring towers. 3 nicks sounded before Jamie reappeared. The interim CEO has arrived. Carl entered the steady operations manager Father had groomed for years. Reliable. Competent. Allergic to limelight. Perfect for transitional leadership. Mr. Hall. I extended my hand. Welcome to the helm. He nodded. I'll ensure seamless transition. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, I watched midday traffic snake between skyscrapers. Somewhere in the city, Spencer was learning the price of underestimating a Carter woman. Here in the boardroom, the real power play had only just begun. After sitting down, he swiftly moved on to the next phase of his plan. 3 laptops were pushed aside on the conference table as staff distributed printed documents. The meeting lasted nearly 3 hours, during which I remained seated at the side, fully engaged throughout. When it adjourned, I walked alone into the former CEO's office, Spencer's former domain. The unlocked door gave way to unchanged opulence, though the desk had been stripped clean. A gray suit jacket remained draped over the sofa, evidence of his abrupt departure. I settled into the executive chair, fingertips drumming the polished surface before opening the drawer to retrieve the thick corporate bylaws. The engraved initials S. Ush. On the leather-bound volume I'd gifted him during our engagement now felt like ancient history. Pressing the intercom, I instructed, "Have facilities clear this office tonight. Remove all items bearing Spencer's name." The response came instantly, "Yes. MS. Emily." Tucking the bylaws under my arm, I collected the abandoned jacket and hung it neatly before exiting. Hours later, my mother's call interrupted the silence. "Your grandmother became agitated when she heard about the canceled wedding. I'll visit tomorrow," I replied. "Don't underestimate her. Age hasn't dulled her insight." She paused. "The media's speculating about your father positioning you as successor." "Not me, Carl. Regardless, you're holding the reins now." Her voice softened with pride. "You did what needed doing." I ended the call after confirming my morning hospital visit before the executive briefing. Exiting the corporate tower, night air bit through my blazer. Security rushed forward with an umbrella, but I drove past my penthouse toward Spencer's temporary residence, a luxury condo still under my father's ownership. His Maybach sat idling below, windows cracked and headlights bleeding into the rain. The elevator to the penthouse opened to crashing sounds. I found him wild-eyed amidst scattered documents and clothing. "Emily, did you forget this property's deed bears the Carter name?" He scrambled up. Phone, the remaining half of our custom-engraved pair, clutched like a lifeline. "Those words weren't meant. Save explanations for your attorney." I dropped the eviction notice on the glass table. "Vacate by 10 a.m. tomorrow." At precisely 10 o'clock next morning, facilities staff and corporate counsel flanked me outside the condo. No response to our knock revealed emptied rooms, half-packed boxes spilling silk sleeves, bare walls where art had hung. I nodded to the team lead. "Document everything. Seal it." Within 30 minutes, inventory sheets filled with photographed remnants. My signature finalized the property's transfer to employee housing allocations. Paparazzi swarmed corporate headquarters entrance later. Shouted questions about the canceled wedding, and Spencer's ousting died against bulletproof glass as security cleared my path. The 35th floor war room held Carl and department heads awaiting my arrival. Financial reports revealed 3 unauthorized transfers totaling $8 million during Spencer's tenure, including $2,400,000 routed to Eisen Capital, a boutique firm run by his college roommate. "Freeze the account. Legal handles it now," I ordered. Carl leaned forward. "Public statement?" "After internal audit." When the courier arrived midday, I slit the envelope to find Eisen Capital's full transaction records, Spencer's fingerprints evident in every forged approval. The paper's weight settled in my palm like a loaded weapon, ready for the boardroom battles ahead. This was just delivered to the front desk. She whispered. I opened the envelope to find a note and a USB drive. The printed message read, "Frowny face, I suggest you listen to the contents before deciding whether to continue your investigation." Without playing the recording immediately, I dismissed my assistant with a nod. After the meeting, I locked my office door and inserted the drive. Static hissed before Spencer's voice emerged. Unaware of being recorded, if we moved this money through regular channels, her old man would have caught it. This way. The books stay clean. Another voice chuckled. You're sure Emily won't notice? Her. She can handle photo shoots and project presentations. But financial reports? She'd struggle through 2 pages out of 10. The recording detailed fund diversion schemes, fake accounting procedures, and implicated 2 mid-level managers. I handed the evidence to legal. Freeze all Hamilton family assets and forward this to authorities. Initiate internal investigations. By 3 p.m., Hamilton family accounts were frozen. At 6 p.m., our official account announced Spencer's suspension pending financial misconduct investigations. Financial reporters erupted, stock forums flooded, media outlets scrambling. Then Alice appeared at a cosmetics launch. Crimson gown clinging to some real estate heir's arm. Wasn't she Spencer's first love? Gossip accounts exploded with her past entanglements and that suspicious luxury brand deal secured after Spencer's promotion. Next morning, my mother placed a dossier on my desk, Alice's aliases, shell company transactions, passport stamps, release selective information. I instructed legal. By afternoon, her social media drowned in fraudulent gold digger comments. Spencer's grainy video surfaced at 9 p.m., unshaven, ranting about corporate conspiracies from a cramped apartment. I know you're watching. Emily, this isn't over. PR's Daily Brief noted it with, no response unless necessary. Visiting Grandma that evening. She squeezed my hand. You've finally got your mother's steel. Leaving the hospital, I found Alice waiting, pale dress, disheveled hair. Emily, we need to talk. Your current status doesn't warrant my time. Her jaw tightened. Think you've won? I work with evidence. Not hype. The elevator doors closed on her furious stare. Midnight brought encrypted files from father. 3 years of Spencer and Alice's laundered money trails through our subcontractors. At 9 a.m. next day, economic crime investigators pored over the paper trail with our legal team. These payments masquerade as subcontractor fees. Our forensic accountant explained. But the companies are shells. The lead detective grimaced, flipping through transaction records thicker than his coffee mug. 2 of those shell companies are registered under Alice's cousin and uncle. The CFO flipped through the following pages, while the other 2 are incorporated overseas with unclear ownership. All funds ultimately funneled through a single intermediary account to Eisen Capital. Police investigators rapidly documented details and officially filed the case before adjourning the meeting. The lead investigator shook our hands. Your cooperation's appreciated. This evidence proves Spencer and Alice's involvement runs deeper than we anticipated. We'll freeze related accounts and investigate all connected parties immediately. Exiting the Economic Crimes Division, our external counsel murmured, should we notify partners to prevent collateral damage? Prioritize key accounts for proactive PR outreach. I responded. Returning to headquarters near noon, Carl presented revised leadership assignments for major Q3 projects. 2 names stood out: project managers originally appointed by Spencer himself. Neither's under investigation yet, but their expense approvals show irregularities. Carl noted. Recommend immediate reassignment. Replace them without transition. Schedule client meetings for 3 p.m. I instructed. Closing the file. Alice's digital presence had evaporated. Legal successfully petitioned to freeze her social accounts. Brand partners severed ties, canceling endorsement deals en masse. At 1 p.m., my phone buzzed with a text from John. Spencer's uncle and former CEO Frowny Face need to discuss Spencer. Meet. I replied, Frowny Face, HQ Conference Room 3. 4 p.m. The entire company knew John's rare appearance signaled gravity. At the appointed hour, the septuagenarian sat ramrod straight behind untouched tea. I won't defend Spencer's actions. But I'm not here for pleas. He slid a dossier across the table. Early overseas funds from your father's era show Eisen Capital connections. Use this against Alice, but understand digging deeper exposes historical liabilities. Historical baggage needs clearing. I said evenly. What about your father's legacy? No exemptions while this company bears the Hamilton name. He nodded curtly, rarely impressed. Today's exception. His exit left me securing the files in encrypted storage. By 6 p.m., leadership approved Carl's reorganization plan. We froze all Eisen-related initiatives' PR contracts. Media partnerships. Overseas collaborations. Administrative implemented immediate personnel changes with Carl overseeing transitions. My secretary updated. Alice detained at airport for suspected financial crimes. Spencer requested personal safe from his office. Deny access. All personal effects remain with legal. 3 days later, Alice's arrest made headlines. 6 frozen accounts. Family members under scrutiny. Brands demanding $5 million plus in penalties. Her attorneys filed bankruptcy petitions. At 10 a.m. all-hands meeting, I announced, all eyes and ties severed. 3-month financial/legal dual approval for expenditures. Our past stops here. The board accelerated my succession timeline. That evening at the Hamilton estate, family tension crystallized during dinner. My father announced, Evelyn inherits my shares and chairmanship. Uncle protested, she's too young. The wedding scandal. Your son caused that disaster. Father countered, Evelyn saved this company. Aunt sneered, but you have sons, she is my daughter. Father said with an icy tone, a Hamilton, not some appendage. Grandmother set down her fork, glancing at uncle and aunt. I've watched Emily's work. At my age, I've no fear of offending you. We all see your son isn't cut out for this. The cousin kept his head lowered throughout the tense meal that quietly redrew family boundaries. At 8 p.m. in Father's study, he handed me trust transfer documents for his shares. What if I fail? I asked. You've shown more resolve than I had at your age. He replied. And you've no vulnerabilities left. By 7 a.m. next morning, Spencer Hamilton stood disheveled outside headquarters. Security barring entry to the former CEO. I have rights, your access privileges were revoked. Mr. Hamilton. The guard interrupted. Cameras captured his humiliated retreat as morning commuters filmed his downfall. Within hours, viral footage coincided with police tracing $940,000 embezzlement through shell companies to Spencer's college acquaintance. Our legal team filed civil charges against Spencer and Alice Thompson for fraud and asset misappropriation. When Spencer's lawyer offered settlement at 6 p.m., I denied all negotiations, instructing counsel to block every out-of-court resolution path. Next day's corporate announcement detailing financial misconduct charges against Spencer Hamilton and Alice Thompson crushed rumors of internal power struggles. Dominoes fell swiftly. Chamber of Commerce blacklisted their venture capital firm. Financial institutions severed ties. And 2 brands where Alice consulted shuttered within 48 hours. During personnel reviews, Carl Hall suspended 2 managers who'd enabled Spencer's unauthorized actions. All executive bonuses will undergo dual-layer approval with financial transparency protocols. I declared at the restructuring meeting. Not one objection surfaced. That evening, Don Cameron, former CFO, turned investment partner, proposed transitional support over stake. Your father wants balance, not interference, he stated. I tested him with a 3-day deadline for financial restructuring plans. Returning to headquarters, I found an anonymous parcel containing a blurred family photo and cryptic note signed J. You've won a battle against pawns. The true game masters remain beyond the board. The photograph's sole sharp figure showed James Hamilton, architect of London mergers turned Swiss recluse. Next morning's executive briefing revealed James' attempted 20% acquisition of our Seattle tech subsidiary through shadow funds. Freeze all suspicious equity transactions. I ordered. Launch full asset disclosure audits for every board member. Market response to our shareholding structure optimization notice came swift. Shares rose 2.3% by closing bell. During 3-day strategy lockdown, I mandated comprehensive director disclosures, full spouse, offspring, and indirect shareholding relationship reporting through external auditors. When Carl presented the finalized financial overhaul, I signed without hesitation. Announce shareholding structure optimization period implementation. Let markets see our foundations strengthening. The silent conference table reflected reformed hierarchies, no whispers. Only the scratch of pens endorsing the new order. The moment the directive was issued, the boardroom fell silent. Carl lowered his head to take notes while the legal director immediately began drafting proposals. Simultaneously, I conducted individual meetings with senior shareholder representatives. First was Jerry Watson, holding 7% equity, a business partner from my grandfather's era. "Emily," he said impassively, "you know I prefer staying hands-off. But this purge is moving too fast, it's unsettling the old guard." "I'm not purging people. Just cleaning up financial discrepancies," I countered. "Anyone refusing to submit audit data shouldn't occupy board seats." He studied me before chuckling. "At my age, I value stability. Expect full compliance from my end." Over subsequent days, 2 mid-tier shareholders requested partial equity transfers, citing concentration risks and regulatory pressures. I authorized market operations for corporate buybacks while securing strategic investors. Legal teams cross-referenced anonymous tips with James' corporate network. 7 holding companies across jurisdictions. 3 offshore investment shells operated by identical legal proxies. Our London office issued immediate alerts to block cross-border asset manipulation. Meanwhile, Spencer's case entered judicial review. Courts froze his remaining 3 properties and securities accounts, while Alice's unresolved debts were added to joint enforcement orders. Both now faced combined criminal and civil proceedings. During supplier evaluations for Western regions, Carl delivered decrypted data from Spencer's office laptop, an unsent draft email. I failed." She moved faster and harsher. "Without the equity documents, I'm out. Proceed without me." Forensics confirmed likely referenced James. "What's his endgame?" Carl asked. "Regaining board control by overturning succession protocols." I replied. "Reviewing reports. He nearly succeeded as father's successor years ago. My return from overseas blocked his comeback." That evening, I met our family trust's risk management specialist at a downtown private club. The 40-year-old mergers and acquisitions lawyer warned, "James has embedded operatives. This isn't about asset recovery, he wants your chair. Let him try. You need contingency leadership." He insisted. Without designated successors, he'll force emergency board votes. I made a late-night call, prepare alternatives. Submit candidate list within 72 hours. 3 days later, Carl presented 4 internal candidates covering technology, legal, market operations, and capital management. My gaze lingered on the final name, Milo, former financial strategist who'd resigned 3 years prior after assisting my father's restructuring. Contact Milo for weekend negotiations. He's currently on the West Coast. Arrange virtual conference. Simultaneously, strategic teams restructured holdings into consolidated subsidiaries, isolating non-core assets to block James proxy investments. Legal commenced license reviews on James-linked entities, discovering 3 active procurement contracts with subsidiaries. Terminate all agreements immediately. Blacklist these firms. During Friday's video conference, Milo appeared in tailored black suit against bookshelves of financial texts. "Emily. Long time. I need permanent strategic leadership, official succession candidate. You want anti-takeover measures against James proxy voting blocks." "Exactly. Draft contingent equity agreements, stripping voting rights from mid-tier shareholders, considering transfers within 6 months. Legally binding disincentives against hostile accumulation. 72 hours? Starting tonight." Post-meeting, legal teams accelerated audits on James shell companies. By dawn, termination notices flew to 3 vendors still processing Hamilton-linked orders. Market surveillance teams began real-time tracking of unusual share movements. At the same time, media reports revealed that James Hamilton had returned to the country and appeared at a prominent financial forum. Photos showed him wearing a gray suit, holding a microphone while speaking at a roundtable discussion. I instructed intelligence teams to review the event's participant list, discovering 2 longtime shareholder representatives historically aligned with the Hamilton family among his fellow panelists. I knew he'd begun maneuvering for the upcoming board vote. At 9 a.m. Monday, I convened an emergency board meeting to present the interim voting rights freeze protocol. stipulating that any director altering equity holdings by over 3% this quarter would automatically lose voting privileges until quarter-end review. 5 shareholders immediately endorsed the measure. 2 neutral members requested observation periods. Jerry Watson nodded slowly. This protocol ensures fairness and necessity. I signed the execution order after unanimous approval. Within an hour post-meeting, Strategy notified me. Milo Andrews' draft contingency agreement was complete, with preliminary commitments from 3 mid-sized shareholders. The binding pact would lock voting rights on asset transactions for 6 months, legally obstructing James' acquisition plans. Simultaneously, Carl Hall alerted me. James attempted to register Hamilton Industrial Holdings at 10 a.m. today. Our preemptive trademark infringement filing blocked the application. I responded, maintain full surveillance. At 2 p.m., Hamilton Group officially announced Milo Andrews, joining as special advisor for strategic restructuring and compliance oversight. Within 3 hours, stock prices rose 3.5% with 3 new investment proposals emerging. At 10 p.m., James called my private line for the first time. 5 seconds of silence passed after I answered. You've sealed every escape route too thoroughly. He began. You reacted too slowly. I replied calmly. Your victory. He conceded after a pause. This round goes to you. Silence hung between us. But you know I won't withdraw. His sneer echoed through the receiver. This game's barely started. The line went dead. I returned the phone to my desk. Approaching floor-to-ceiling windows. City lights glittered below. The Hamilton Group headquarters logo blazing like fire in the night. Tuesday morning's quarterly shareholders meeting commenced under tightened security. Media excluded. James' 3 proxy voters failed compliance checks, stripping his voting power. The path cleared completely. As I entered the silent auditorium, Father, Carl, Milo, and executives stood ready. The first agenda item, board restructuring, proceeded with my recitation of candidate nominations. For departing directors were replaced by 3 controlling shareholder-backed appointees. Milo's asset risk assessment framework entered next quarter budget priorities with full endorsement despite his non-voting observer status. The second agenda item, equity trust transfer, culminated with my signature on 3 documents at the central conference table, finalizing my controlling shareholder status through inherited shares. Father's handshake and ensuing applause marked the transition. James' absence went unremarked. His last-ditch anonymous forum post alleging shareholder suppression had already sunk without ripple. By evening, Milo delivered documentation exposing James Cayman Islands' fund ties, attempting indirect subsidiary acquisitions, now quarantined through legal channels. Simultaneously, Spencer's criminal trial date was set for the 10th. His mental incompetence defense rejected regarding Allisonera financial misconduct. Internal restructuring accelerated. 3 department heads transferred positions as Milo's oversight teams implemented new financial protocols. Carl reported, legacy risks contained. Brand rehabilitation ready for Phase 1. Proceed. I authorized. Prioritize purging contractors linked to investigated personnel. Returning to my office at 8 p.m., I reviewed meticulously organized meeting minutes in the empty building. The final page awaited my endorsement when an alert arrived. Alice Thompson hospitalized after sedative overdose. Stable in ICU. I acknowledged without inquiry. Milo's 10 p.m. email confirmed Seattle subsidiary cleanup. All James-associated acquisition avenues neutralized with 6-month moratoriums. His closing line read, Control contest concluded. Operational normalization begins. I archived the emails, shut down my laptop, and stood up to switch off the lights. The office door slowly swung shut behind me, its glass panel reflecting the company logo across the empty workspace.